Girl, you know you need to call me. All right, I love you. Bye.
Hey family, welcome to Call Me When You Make It. I'm Jayla.
And I'm Tamala, and we are the mother-daughter duo.
You almost forgot our tagline. Let's do it again.
Oh,
Let's do it again.
who are we?
Low-key, we should just leave that in there.
Who are we?
We're the what?
The mother-daughter duo that you never knew you needed.
There we go. We got it together.
I was trying to see if you guys remembered.
Right. You're supposed to say it along with her. That's the thing. Welcome to episode 7. First of all, we just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's been tuning in, commenting, sharing, showing love on the clips that we post on Instagram, on TikTok. Like, it's honestly, this has been such a labor of love, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, starting something from ground zero is difficult. I'm not gonna lie. It's just a 2-woman show right now.
Right.
You know, we're excited to grow in the future, but for right now, it's just us. So the fact that you tune in, you show love, you comment, you share, all of those things, we do not take it for granted. We are very grateful, and we just hope that you continue to watch. We hope that this continues to be a positive show, a positive podcast, and we're just appreciative. So thank you. We just wanted to start off by saying that.
Yes.
Because as of now, as we're filming now, the pod has been out for a little over a month now. So we're excited. How do you feel about the reception of the pod so far?
Like you said, you know, just to add on to what you said, again, very appreciative. And I love that, you know, there's comments and you guys are giving feedback and even telling us like what you want. And so, of course, we would love to hear more of what you guys would like us to talk about. Please. Yeah. Please comment, you know, like, share, tell your friends, tell your family, because, of course, you know, we're not so much, you know, numbers driven, but of course we want to grow. We want our family to grow.
Right.
And having said that, we're here for your feedback. You know, we want to know what you want us to talk about. That's very important for us. You know, we can sit here all day and come up with ideas and things about what we want to talk about. But, you know, with our family, because we consider you guys to be our family, and we want to know what you guys want to talk about. So let us know. We don't know if you guys don't tell us.
Please, you can always comment. You can DM us on TikTok, Instagram, whatever. You can email us, whatever you feel comfortable. However,
reach out.
You want to reach out, please.
We do care.
Check. Yeah. We check all of our platforms. So
we care. We really care about what you guys want us to talk about. So,
we do.
Yeah, we do.
Thanks for that. Good plug. So today's episode, we are getting into education. We are talking about all things school, elementary, high school, college, the whole shebang. Yes. So, of course, if you've been watching our first 6 episodes, you know that we kind of like to start off by getting into our own personal backgrounds. And obviously, since we're mother-daughter, there's some generational differences. There's, you know, time differences. So we always like to kind of start off with that. So getting into education, I want to talk about your educational background and I guess just your experience, like from elementary, and then we'll just move up through there and then we'll get into mine.
Okay, so unlike you, I was a public school child all the way through. So my first, you know, I went to elementary school. It was a kindergarten through 6th grade. And then I went to middle school. And middle school was 7th grade and 8th grade. And then I went to high school. And that was 9th grade through 12th grade.
Right. So you had a pretty standard, like, public school
yes
set. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so it was... And actually, the interesting thing about when I was in middle school, I remember middle school used to be 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
Really? Ninth
Yes.
was considered middle school?
When I was there, and I remember my mom was flipping out because she hated it. She hated
That's
the
weird.
fact, because the year I was there in 7th grade, that was the year they changed that rule. That was the year that they made the 9th graders go over to the high school.
I wonder why they had that like that. Like 7th,
it had
8th,
something to
and
do
9th.
with the numbers.
That's interesting.
It had something to do with the numbers at the middle school or something. I can't remember.
I don't think
that.
I've ever heard of that.
I don't want to misspeak, but I can't remember. Yeah, it was kind of crazy because my mom and I get this as a parent. My mom's thing was that's too young for kids, middle school children to be with, say, seniors in high school, because you have 18-year-olds at high school, and now you're going to have these 9th graders in a high school setting. That was her thing. She's like, I don't want you there. So like normally
a 12-year-old
normally like it's 7th, 8th, 9th, and then it used to be 7th, 8th, 9th middle school, and then it was 10th, 11th, 12th. So it was evenly broken up.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, like the 3 and 3.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they changed it to just 7th, 8th, and then you go high school,
Yeah.
like it is now.
Like the normal, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the year I went, my first year in junior high school, that's when they changed that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and my mom she was not happy with that at all. In fact, not just my mom. There were parents, they were having meetings, and it was an uproar. So it was a big deal when that happened. Yeah, it was interesting.
Wow.
So anyway, it was, but my schools even though I went to public school, I went to some good schools. I will say that. I didn't have, any, they weren't rough or anything like that. I got a good education. Yeah.
That's good. So we, just like you mentioned, we're kind of opposite because I went to private school my whole life. So from kindergarten until 8th grade, I went to the same school. It was K through 8, like the same school. It was split up to where kindergarten through like 4th or 5th grade would have like recesses, and then once you went across the hall to 5th grade, actually it was K through 4th was like grouped together kind of for like recess and stuff like that, and then when you went across the hall to 5th grade, then you were more like grouped with like the middle schoolers. But when you got to 7th grade, that's when you were like, oh, you're a big kid. Like, you're in middle school now. So I remember, like, even the uniforms changed because we had uniform.
Yeah,
so when I got in 7th grade, that's when we changed uniform. Like, we had a different, like, polo color or something like that to, like, differentiate, okay, you're in 7th grade now.
I forgot
and then you're
that.
in 8th grade. Yeah. So I went to the same school, K through 8th, and there was a small group of us that stayed all of those 9 years. I remember we took a graduation picture for that.
I remember that. I still have that picture.
Yeah, so it was a unique experience because my school was so small, and I think the most amount of kids that we ever had at once in a class was maybe like 31, something like that. So the school was small and the classes were really small too. Did you have like, how big were your classes in like elementary and middle school?
So I remember the class size ranged from like 28 to 30 or something like that.
Okay, so it was standard.
But there were so many classes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There were more classes. Are we talking high school or elementary?
Well, no, just elementary, like up until 8th grade.
So in elementary school for sure it was that way, but were there multiple? I'm trying to remember. Now you're making me go back now. Hold on a second.
Memory lane.
I'm trying to remember now. In elementary school, were there multiple? Yes, there were. There were multiple classes of the same grade. Because I remember, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There wasn't just one 4th grade class.
Oh, okay. Because like for us, it was.
Yeah. It was just one
yeah.
class consisted of 28 to 30 children.
Okay.
But you had like 4 or 5 of those within the school.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
So that is different, yeah.
Yes.
Because for us, it was just one class. Like,
Oh,
there was one kindergarten class.
right.
There was one...
And one teacher for that grade. Yeah, no.
Yeah. And then
That's,
for us,
a bigger.
Also, for, like, probably from K through maybe 4th or 5th, that one teacher taught everything for... the class.
Okay.
Except for like PE. I think PE was the only class like in those grades that it was a different teacher. But everything else, it was like they did all the curriculum.
Right.
But then when we got to like, I want to say maybe 5th or 6th grade, I can't really remember. That's when we started having other teachers for other things.
And you
like
go to
we
a
had a
different
separate music class.
Okay.
We had a separate art class. We had separate stuff. But for the most part, yeah, like when we were younger, it was one teacher for all of it.
Wow, I never really thought about that when you were going
Yeah.
there. Like that it was like that.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I mean, we're going to get into high school in a second, but I was just thinking, I was like, oh yeah, like in elementary, it was just one teacher compared to like, you know, in high school, and obviously like when you get to college and stuff, you have a different teacher or professor for everything.
Right, you're moving around, going to different classes.
Yeah, but in elementary, I want to say up until like 5th grade, yeah, it was just that one teacher was doing everything.
Okay.
Which is kind of wild when you think about it. It's like, that's a lot of curriculum
that's a lot for
to
one
like,
teacher
yeah,
to take
and like
on.
a lot to grade and be doing. So that was interesting. What else? I'm trying to think of like if there was anything else like during my like K through 8 years that was different. Because like I said, I went to a private Catholic school, so the experience was very interesting, and very unique, just from a perspective of like the curriculum that we had. I mean, I feel like the curriculum was like...
I just thought of something.
Okay, don't forget it. The curriculum was like, you know, your regular curriculum. I think it was a little bit more rigorous just because it was like private. So it was definitely, you know, it was challenging. It was competitive. You know, honor roll was a big thing. Like
that she, by the way, was always on.
I was always on honor roll. I did not play.
Consistently and throughout the whole K through 8.
I did not play about being on honor roll. Yeah.
She had an honor roll wall in her room that I made. It was full from top to bottom. It was like wallpaper.
That was like my...
I should have taken a picture of that wall.
I know. We never did, huh?
I don't think we did.
That was like my granny
That was
wall.
crazy. She had a whole wall. Literally, it was full. Yeah. Yeah. Another fun fact. I'm just like thinking of different stuff. I thought of something that you... Can I share real quick?
I wonder if it's what I think. I was thinking about... Remember the reading? Like when I was younger, I was bumped up. Well, I almost skipped a grade, but I didn't. And then in like 2nd grade or 3rd grade, or something like in elementary school, I was bumped up into like advanced reading because they were like, her reading is too... She reads at a higher level than like her current grade.
Well, because tell them how old you were when you started reading.
I don't know. 4?
Like 4.
Was I like 4? Yeah.
Reading, like really reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that blew her kindergarten teacher away. She's like, wait, she can read. I was like, she's been reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like a little fun fact. I didn't skip a grade. I remember they were like, you guys were seriously thinking about having me skip a grade. In like 2nd or 3rd grade.
The teachers were like, she's just
they're like, she's not really challenged,
easy.
But I didn't want to.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I said no.
I didn't want to leave my friends.
And I didn't want to do that to you.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we didn't do that. Yeah. Thank you for like honoring that too, because I was like, I think it would, I mean, obviously it's like you adjust, you do what you need to do, but I feel like I thought I was where I needed to be.
But I've heard stories from other parents that did it and regretted it later.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, I see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
You know, if your kid isn't being challenged and that's something that you feel like, you know, you want to consider, I understand that. But I think for me, looking back at it now and then also thinking about how I felt at the time, I just don't think I would have been happy, like, leaving my class, especially because we were so like
and
tight-knit.
That part is important. The social aspect of it is important. Yeah. People say, that doesn't matter, too bad, and all this, but it does matter.
And I mean, also the curriculum did get more challenging,
right?
Like,
that's the thing. That's
older.
What I was going to say. I didn't want it to get too challenging later,
right?
And you struggle later,
right?
So
I feel like it was
the pros and cons.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like it was a good pace. Like it ended up being a good pace. So
yeah.
So let's get into high school years, because I feel like our high school experiences. Oh, did you?
I didn't get to share my.
Oh,
my
yeah,
story
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Real quick before we jump to
high school. Yeah.
So please tell our family members, how much they loved you. She won't do this because it's about tooting your own horn. At the school. Do you remember when you ran for president?
Oh.
They had a real campaign.
Oh, wait. Okay, so student council was like such a big thing because, like I said, it was a very tight knit school, and so by the time
competitive.
It was very competitive.
These kids were competitive out here. Okay,
it was very competitive.
I
remember when you got to 6th grade, that's when you could run for student council, and it was a big thing because it was like all these different positions, and it was like a thing. And I knew back then, I was like, I want to be on student council because we didn't have ASB. I know like some schools have like ASB, which is kind of like the same kind of concept, I believe, of like student council. So we had that. So I remember in 6th grade, I ran for information officer and I won that. And so I was in charge of like doing all the little announcements and our marquee in the front and all that. And that was like my little intro into student council. Then I was like, okay, I got to run for something else. So I think I ran for like secretary or something in 7th grade.
That sounds about right.
Something like that.
I don't remember.
And then 8th grade, I was like, I gotta run for president. Like,
of course.
8th grade, like, I just have to run for president. And it was a whole thing. Like, we really were campaigning. We made stickers. We made posters. During recess, you had to pass out, like, stickers. It was a whole situation.
Okay, but your grandmother...
Oh, it was
like she was running for the president of the United States.
No, literally. Like she was not playing. She was like, okay. She was like my campaign manager.
She was. Literally. She like took over.
She was like, okay, we got to do the stickers. We were doing posters. I went to her house after school and we were like doing the posters. Cute. It was a whole thing. It was so cute. But I forgot about that because it really was like, because I think
it was so sweet.
It was like a full campaign.
And it was really...
And so I won that. Mind you, the competition was tough.
It was fierce.
The guy that I was running against, he was popular too. So, it was...
But not as popular as our J-Lo.
It was funny. I think I told you this, but when I came back... When was this? No, this was like right before we left for college. I ran into him at a party.
You did?
The same guy that I ran against. And he was like, we were talking and we were like in a group. And he was like, you guys, you don't understand. She was like the Beyonce of our school. And I was like, don't gas me. But no, it was just one of those things where it was like, that was like the first time, one of the first times where I was like, I felt like that leadership in me.
You had it.
Which also, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this.
I know
a little bit later.
When you said that, I already know.
But
you said the word. I already know where that's going.
Yeah, we're going to swing back to leadership and a story that I have about that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was like, I would say between 6th and 8th grade, that was when I really felt like I like honed my leadership skills.
Yeah, I was very proud of that accomplishment.
Did you guys in your elementary or middle school... Did you guys have, like, student council positions that you were interested in, or did you do any of that type of activity? You were Miss Social Butterfly.
I was. And I did, but what I did, I remember, I wish I still had this letter. I remember getting this letter from the principal. My parents got it, but of course, and my mom put it in a frame. And what it was is... Oh, I know what it was. It was 6th grade graduation. That's what it was. And I got some sort of accolade for, being, it was kind of like you said, being a part of the family that was there from kindergarten through 6th grade. Yeah, part of that. But what the principal was talking about is how I always came to school well-mannered, well-dressed, and always, conducted myself a certain way and never got in trouble and, things like that. Yeah. It was a really a nice letter.
That's sweet.
And I just was proud of that.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
And he was like, Tamala will always be remembered here at bleep, bleep, bleep school. Don't just say it. As the, well-dressed, well-groomed, and well-mannered, little girl
That's
that
cute.
got along with everyone.
Yeah.
And, blah, blah, blah. Just a really nice, letter.
That's a nice acknowledgement because I feel like that's something that
isn't
really
nice.
acknowledged.
Yeah.
So that was sweet.
I thought it was nice.
That was sweet.
Yeah, but no, I don't recall us having that. We would have, but what we did have, like for PE, and it's funny because I was not athletic necessarily, but I remember we would have this track meet every year. We would have these track meets, and other schools would come.
Okay.
It would be. I don't know. It was
like a community track.
Yeah,
situation.
it was like all the elementary schools in like around us that were close to us would come, and we would compete, and not just running. It was really like there were different activities going on.
Okay.
And I guess I must have been quick back then because I was always in this like short distance running and a relay race.
Oh.
And
that's
I was
so
pretty
funny.
good. Like I got first place one time.
Okay.
And second place. Like that was the thing. It was like a really big deal when we had this. It was
Okay.
like, yeah, it was like, oh, we're going to beat, it was like you always have like a rival school.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to beat them this year because if we won a certain amount of events, it was like you beat that school.
Okay.
So we had that.
So it was like
type
an
of
annual thing.
Yeah, it was like an annual thing.
Okay.
A certain time of the year.
Okay. Got you.
So we did that. Yeah.
I also, one other thing, because I wanted to, speaking of like student council and stuff, did you have any extracurriculars or like sports that you did in elementary?
Yes, I played soccer.
You did.
I did for
Yeah.
all through my elementary
That's so
years,
cute.
and I loved it. So
That's
I said
so
when I said I wasn't athletic, but I guess I should take that out because during my elementary years, I loved playing soccer.
That's
I did.
So cute.
I was a soccer child. I was. So
I feel like that was the one sport that I wanted to play, but I never did. I just
fun.
never got into
loved
sports.
It was so much. It's the one sport I actually loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of my best friends was like, she played soccer like her whole life, and
Yeah.
her whole family was into it too. And I used to want to play soccer so bad. Like I would go to her games and I'd be like, I want to play soccer, and I just never really did. But I also wasn't like a sports kid. Like so my extracurricular from 3rd grade all the way until I was a junior in high school, I was a major at baton twirler.
Yep.
That was fun, and I'm glad that you let me try that because that ended up being like a really. Those were like really formative years for me because that
and you stayed with it.
I
I'm proud
did. It
of
was
you
8
for staying
years
with it.
Yeah,
Because the practices were, on top of your brutal homework load that she had to show up for practices, and we had to go to all these parades.
so we had rehearsal, we had practice. I think it was once a week before school,
And
so
sometimes
you
more
had to,
when it got
the
more
closer it
intense.
got. Yeah. So we would always have practice at least once a week before school. So it'd be like 7 a.m. on whatever day. And then you go to class, right? Then I remember as I got older, like in middle school and high school, we had practice on the weekends.
Yes.
Like on Sundays for like 3 hours. And then if it was getting closer to our parades, the practices would amp up because what we would do local parades like around, because if you didn't know, we're from Sacramento, California. So we would do like local parades around the area.
Right.
But then the big parade, the big moment was the Disneyland parade.
Every year.
Every single year. We went every year in June.
How many years did we say? From 3rd
For
grade
like
to
8 years.
Yeah.
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 And that
We
was a
were
big
there
deal
every year.
because it was the Main Street Parade. It was us and then like all of the other
That was
major
so
at
exciting.
baton twirling teams from like all over the country.
All over.
And then before we did the parade, we had to compete. We had a clinical the day before.
That was exciting.
And we
too.
had to compete because we were competing
saw
to
all these
see
twirlers.
Yeah, we used to have to compete to see what the order was going to be.
Right.
So,
that's right.
and I remember it was a big deal because if you always wanted to close the parade because it was just like you want to be the last group that everybody sees. So if you got to close the parade, it was like a big deal. And I remember there were a few times where we got to close the parade.
Yes.
And that was just like, when I think back on that, I was like, that was such a good experience because that was the first time that I realized like I like performing. I like being on stage. I like this. Like, I like being in front of people. And so, and I think that's kind of like what segued into me doing dance later on too. Cause like I said, I mean, I guess technically I keep saying I wasn't an athletic kid. I mean, I didn't play sports, but like being a majorette was athletic. Like, I mean, it's dance.
We're doing
it's
incorporated into the
it's
twirling.
a little bit of gymnastics. It's like, it was intense at some
and then
point.
remember when you started doing two?
Oh yeah, we would do the two. Yeah. Yeah.
But, okay, here's a little side note, too. I don't know if you... Well, obviously, you were doing it, but I remember for tryouts, your teacher, your instructor, pulled me to the side afterwards and said, hey, I just want to let you know, Jayla is pretty awesome because, you know, all these girls are right-handed.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm a lefty.
She's a lefty. So she had to be able to do this with her right hand.
Yeah, everything was right.
And not all left-handed girls can conform to this. So, you know, shout out to you for that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that I forgot about that too, because it was, I had to learn how to do everything right.
You know, now hand me something and ask me to do it with my left hand. It's not gonna happen. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty admirable.
Thanks. Yeah.
So
that taught me a lot. So shout out to my instructors and all the girls that I met through being a majorette, because that was...
And the parents. I met a lot of really cool parents. Yeah. You know, very nice. I mean, you know, because obviously we're out here with for the same reason. Yeah. With our kids, and the parents were cool. It was a really that was a fun time.
That was a fun time. Yeah. And I probably would have continued on, but when I got to my senior year, when I got to my junior year, I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to quit, because it was getting to be a lot with like school and all the social stuff I was doing.
Right, you're doing other social things.
Yeah, I was like, I don't...
just cutting into so much stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think I have time. Because you do have to commit to the rehearsals and stuff, so...
Right.
Anyway, so I wanted to bring that up, because that was like a really important extracurricular, and not a lot of people know that. Like, that's always like a little fun fact that I bring up, because not a lot of people know that I was majorette for 8 years, so... Yeah. That was fun and cute. Going into high school, because that kind of ties into high school too, because like I said, I did that until I was a junior. Right. So high school, let's talk about our high school experiences, because those, I know for us, are starkly different.
So different.
So what was your high school experience like? And what do you, along with that, do you feel like you were... in a clique at all? Or did you have... Oh, she said for sure. And do you feel like what was your high school persona? Because you know how like in high schools there's generally like the jock, the cheerleader, the cool girl, you know what I mean? Like, what were you in high school?
Oh boy. So, let me see. Okay, first...
Give us the tea.
Yikes.
Not yikes.
Well, first of all... Let me see. How would I... I'm not... Okay. Let me tell you, and then maybe you can help me with this,
yeah. We'll figure it out.
So, first of all, when school... You know, when I first got there, I'm a freshman. And my friends, you know... We're all... I'm going to say, you know, like the pretty girls, right? So we were so-called. I didn't give us that title, right? That's not what I said. That's what who went on to be my boyfriend
what was given
said.
to you.
No, that's what my boyfriend said, right?
Okay.
The boyfriend I wasn't supposed to have, by the way. I wasn't supposed to have a boyfriend, and which is funny because he went on to be one of my mother's favorite persons, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. We talked about him in a previous episode.
We did. So, he called us the pretty girls. So, you know, in high school, if you are a group of pretty girls, you're going to have problems. Okay?
Were y'all mean?
And then...
Because that tends to be...
Sometimes, maybe. But, you know, the attitude was there. I'm not going to lie.
Were you giving Regina George vibes or what?
We weren't mean girls, but here's the problem. This is when it became a problem. So when I got with him, because, okay, he was fine. I'm not going to lie.
He was a handsome guy.
And a lot of people wanted to talk to him.
Oh, so it was that.
So now we got new problems.
Okay.
So now it's
we
like...
We have some haters.
We have haters.
Okay.
We have haters.
Okay.
And then it's like, you know, you lose some friends. The people you think are your friends, they secretly want your boyfriend.
Oh. So there was haters in the circle.
Yes. There was, yeah.
Yikes. Okay.
So these are the type of things I had to deal with.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, you know, I lost some girls along the way.
You said, y'all got to go.
You can't
have my man.
You can't have my man.
So there's that. That's okay. So would you consider, would you consider yourself like part of a popular group in high school? Or was there a popular group in your high school?
So I would say not the huge popular, because like, you know, there was like maybe like the like people knew who I was.
Okay.
Because I was really, really good friends with like that group.
Okay.
Like they always knew who I was, and I knew all those people.
Okay, so you were like,
so connected. Like if you said my name, they'd be like, "Oh, I know. Oh yeah, I know her."
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You had the connect.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah.
Okay. That's hilarious.
If that makes sense.
So okay, for me, I feel like my experience in high school is so unique, and there's like so much I want to talk about because it's like there's just a lot. So I went to a private Catholic all girls high school. I know it sounds crazy. Because when I tell people that, they're like, what? Like, how was that? Like, did you have a social life? How did you meet boys? Like, was there drama all the time? And I will say, honestly, I had a blast. Like, I loved high school. I had so much fun. I had such an amazing group of best friends. And it's not what you think. Like, I feel like when I say that, people have all these like assumptions. Mm-hmm. Number one, when it comes to like, okay, did you have a social life, and like, what was that? Social life was booming. That was never an issue.
Listen, I was wishing I went to the school. They were having so much fun.
Because what
I'm
I
serious.
will say is,
my
like,
goodness.
my high school did a great job of being like, yes, you're here. This is a college prep school. Like, keep your head in the books, but like, also have a social life. There was always something going on. They were always pushing for you to do a sport, do a club, do something. Like, there was just always so much happening, and
so much
I appreciate that because, like I said, the curriculum was rigorous. Like, the workload was crazy, but they made sure that there was like other stuff for us to be doing too,
right?
So that we're not just like drowning in homework and college apps and stuff like that. So I appreciate that. So yeah, social life was cool. Like, we were going to the games, we were going to the track meets and the football games, we were going to dances. That was the other thing, was that we weren't the only all-girls school in town. There was another all-girls school, there was an all-boys school, and then there was a co-ed Christian Catholic school as well. So because that was like the group of schools, we did things together. Like, there was always like dances and games and stuff like that we would all do together. So that's how you met people.
Right.
And then, I mean, on top of that, there's public schools in the city and in the different neighborhoods too. So it was like, I met kids from public schools too, just from like being out and about and going to games and like, you know, just through meeting other people. So that was that. The other thing is, as far as like meeting boys and stuff, just like I said, we would socialize with the boys from the other school, so that wasn't really an issue either. Like, I definitely had a couple of boyfriends. Like, it wasn't hard to like meet boys or like talk to boys or anything like that. And the funny thing though is that for dances like homecoming and prom and stuff, every dance for us was kind of like a Sadie Hawkins, because we had to ask the boy, like, will you be my date? Because, you know what, like, we didn't have, there were boys to ask us for, like, our homecoming. So you would have to, like, ask a boy, like, hey, will you be my date for prom or for whatever?
Right.
But then, like, the boys would ask us. Like, if, you know, from the all-boys school or from the co-ed school, they would ask us, like, hey, you know, will you come to the dance? But one thing that I will say that I absolutely loved is that being at an all-girls school your focus during the day in class was your studies, which I love. Like, we used to come to class looking crazy. Like, no makeup, hair in a messy bun. We had a uniform. You could just focus on, like...
No one cared how you
No one
looked.
cared. No one cared. If you wore makeup to school, it was because, oh, you must be going to a game. Or you must be going somewhere after.
See, that right there. That's why I wanted to send you there.
Yeah.
Because I remember, just to cut real quick, you know, this is a side note. For me.
Your experience.
I mean, you know, we're spending all this time, you know, my mom's yelling at me. I'm in the mirror putting makeup on and doing all this and
you
fixing
gotta look
my,
cute for
you
your
know,
boo.
hairspray and doing all this. And then when you get to school, hold on, when you get to school, you're in the bathroom doing the same thing in between classes. Like, what? We're here to learn. Like, are you serious? We're worried about what some stupid boy... I'm sorry. That was not nice. But honestly, looking back,
right.
I mean, at the end of the day, the girls and boys are there to learn.
Yeah.
They're worried about, I'll call the girl stupid. Stupid girl. Is because we think we're smart at that time, and we're just not.
Girl.
We're supposed to be there to learn. And that was my thing, is I want to send my daughter to school to focus on her academics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it made a difference. I mean, it's not to say that, you know, if you go to a co-ed
right,
school,
no, I'm not. Well, I did.
Right.
I went to public school, and so obviously, you know, I'm saying what I was dealing with, but hey, I'm going to say I could have and would have done better if I wouldn't have been in that environment. That's all I'm saying.
Like,
it's not the same.
I really do like the fact that I was in class and I didn't have to worry about a boy. Yeah. Or, like, looking cute for a boy.
And you're going to if they're there.
And I also think...
You just are.
I also think, in a way, too, it helps kind of boost, like, your assertiveness or, like, your confidence in a way, too. Because, like, I think about... You know, when you're in class... Because I think about, like, in middle school, for example, there would be times where I know sometimes girls would be, like, a little hesitant to raise their hand or, like, state their opinion because there's boys around.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You're going to worry about all this because they're there.
Yeah, and so in high school, it's like, that's not the case. You're in a room full of other girls, so it's
like-minded young ladies, right? And you're assertive. I think it builds your confidence.
It helps your confidence, and your assertiveness,
all that. Yeah. It's very... Well, you were there.
Yeah.
You know, like you just said. So, yeah, that's all the things I thought about.
Yeah. So, I feel like for me personally, because I know it's not for everybody. Like, I know girls who went, hated it, and left, or, you know, they just didn't have the best experience. But I think for me personally, I had a really good experience, and it did help me a lot with just a lot of different elements. Like, it's something that even I would consider my daughter to do. You know, like, if I found a good all-girls school wherever we end up living, I would consider, because I did have a good time. Oh my gosh, you know what I just thought about? This another, like, unique experience.
I know.
Was
does it start with a P?
Homecoming. And yes.
Oh.
Well, that too. Oh. So, because it was all part of Spirit Week.
Oh, okay.
Spirit Week was a whole production. So, obviously, like I said, it's an all-girls school. So, like, our homecoming week was really different. We didn't have, like, homecoming king and queen. We obviously didn't have, like, a football game. We had to kind of get creative with what we did because it's just girls. So we had Spirit Week, which was like the biggest deal of the year.
My goodness.
It was always in like October,
huge.
I think. And when I tell you, like, from the start of school, from the start of the semester, we geared up for Spirit Week. Like, it was a big deal. So first we had...
That was crazy.
All of it had to do with, like, raising money and, like, donations and stuff. Because, like...
And they did raise money.
We did raise a lot of money. We also did, like, a canned food drive, and, like, we did a bunch of stuff for, like, you know, charitable causes and stuff.
Right.
But the biggest thing with Spirit Week was Princess Procession, okay? Princess Procession was basically, like, our Super Bowl for Spirit Week, because every class had a theme, like a specific theme, and the theme changed every year. And each class also had, like, a mascot. So, like, our school had a mascot, but then each class had their own individual mascot. And we had jerseys. It was a whole thing.
You had to see it. You have to see it to believe it.
If I find footage, I will post some footage on our Instagram.
They were serious. No, this is not a joke.
We thought this was like do or die. Like this was such a big deal.
I remember I had to go see. They were in the gym.
Oh man,
doing it big. Man. I mean, it was like a whole like. It was when she said Super Bowl. It was like a Super Bowl production.
It was
in a gym.
Serious.
Like that's how serious. I mean, we're talking lighting. We're talking
decorations.
Setting up. Great big things out here, like building things, and you guys were serious.
No.
Putting it together.
It was a whole like
I was
we
like,
had,
wow.
When I think about it, like
you
the girls
guys were serious.
The girls who did the decorations, they should be doing like set design now,
right?
Because they were literally like building things. Like it was.
I was very impressed.
It was crazy. So Princess Procession specifically was, like I said, we didn't have Homecoming King and Queen, but we had princesses. Each grade had a princess, and we had to vote.
Goodness.
I don't really remember how we nominated the princesses, but we nominated them, and then we had to vote, and that's how we picked each class princess. So the point of Princess Procession was each class, whoever wanted to like volunteer and be part of it, you would do it. But we had rehearsals, and it was like every day after school for like, I don't know, a month, 2 months. I can't really remember. But it was a whole thing. And it was a dance. So we had to do like choreography. You had to get your mix together. Like
goodness.
If I find footage, I'll see if I can find anything. I'll see if I can share it. But yeah, it was like a big production. It was a big deal. And that was something that we looked forward to every year. I didn't do it my freshman year because freshman year, I was still like kind of shy, still kind of finding my footing in like my friend group and stuff. But then when sophomore year hit, I did it every single year after that. And it was a huge thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun. And that was like really unique. I don't know if there's any other like schools out there that did something similar. If you had something like that in your high school, please let us know. Cause that to me was like, that was a highlight of high school for sure. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my high school experience. Very unique. But fun. Like I look back and have very fond memories of high school, which I'm glad about.
I am too.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
High school was really fun.
Yeah. I look at it as, people ask me like, how was that? Did she like it?
Yeah.
Do you regret doing it? No, I'm like, no, it was an investment. That's how I look at it, an investment into your education.
And it really did prep me for college. It really did.
And that's, by the way, your school, that's their thing. Was the whole that was a whole idea and goal of any student that's going there. They're there to groom you to go to college.
It was,
that's
part of the name.
Process.
Yeah, college preparatory school.
That's what you're there to do.
Yeah.
Like nobody is there saying I'm not going to college. Like nobody's doing that. Like
it was
if
rare.
you're there saying that you shouldn't probably even be there.
It was rare.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know if there was anybody.
Everybody was like, "What college are you going to?"
Yeah, it was like that wasn't an option.
Yeah.
So for me, my college experience was also unique
again.
Once again, I literally went to private school my whole entire life, which is wild to think about. So like I have no idea what any kind of public school experience is like, and I feel like that sounds spoiled, but it's just like that's just my experience.
I have a story.
What?
About college.
Oh, okay, hold on. Before you tell your story,
look.
Oh! Okay, y'all will tell that.
Sorry, I'll share it with you guys in a minute.
So
I had to tell her.
For me, for college, just like we were saying, at my high school, it was just like, there is no other option. Like, you're going to college. Even if you're going to community college, you're going to college. So, obviously, I knew college was in my future. But for me, I was a very stubborn child, and I knew that I didn't want to go anywhere outside of California. Looking back, should I have applied elsewhere? Maybe. But, it is what it is. Things happen for a reason, and I ended up where I needed to end up, right? Mm-hmm. But I was like, I'm not going to college outside of Southern California. Like, I always knew I wanted to live in LA. Mm-hmm. I knew I wanted to kind of like place roots there. So I was like, why am I going to go to college somewhere else when I know I want to be in LA? So that was just my thinking at the time. I feel like if you're in high school right now, or if you're like in that kind of college process, I would say if you know where you want to be, like if you're like, I know I don't want to live in such and such state, then I would say, apply where you know you want to be. Does that make sense? Because like I know when my sisters were applying for school, they were more open to like exploring other cities and states. I was not. I just wasn't. Like I just wanted to be in LA, and I also didn't want to be that far away from my family. I think that was another factor for me.
And we didn't want to either.
Right. But I feel like don't let that hold you back either. Like I feel, if you want to go explore another city, another state, another country, whatever, don't let that hold you back either. But for me personally, I was like, it's LA or bust. I don't want to go anywhere else. Right. So I only applied to like a handful of schools. It was like 4 or 5 schools. And I ended up going to Chapman University. Shout out to the Panthers. For all 4 years. I graduated in 4 years. And it was a very unique experience because, again, it was private. It was very small, super, super small campus. Class sizes were very small. And I think also just being in a space where there weren't a lot of black people, like the black population was like less than 2%. So I learned a lot about race relations. That's when I really delved deep into BSU and like really honed my leadership skills with that. Like it was just...
And really became a game changer once again. She got in there, you got to toot that horn again.
What?
Okay, because when you guys had the black graduation.
Oh, black grad. Yes.
So I have people coming up to me asking, "Oh, you're Jayla's mom." Like you were changing stuff.
I feel like I was part of the team with that, but that wasn't like my trailblazing idea. Well, because
you were the president. Became the president.
After though. I was vice president during that.
Okay, but I'm just saying at the end when you were president, this is what people were saying. So you were so active.
But yeah, that was a big deal. A time. That was a time. But yeah, I feel like that could be a whole nother episode in itself.
Right, so it's a lot. Sorry.
It's a lot.
She did a lot in her within your just all of your whatever grade from kindergarten to graduating from college. Yeah, we could talk forever because she was so active.
I was a very active child.
She was very active, and I don't even know how you did it all. She was active. Jayla was always able to juggle a lot.
I think it was,
and I was always proud of that. I was always impressed by that.
You guys were the ones who instilled that in me from a young age, because I feel like from the time I started school, you guys would always encourage me to like do extracurriculars, because I started gymnastics when I was like 4. You know what I mean?
Did.
Like, so I feel like you guys wanted me to.
I wanted you to have fun,
to be well-rounded.
I still wanted you to have a kid, be a kid.
Yeah,
and I wanted it to be, and you always remember me saying this. I wanted it to be something that you wanted to do.
Yeah, because you never forced me to do anything.
I wasn't that mom saying, no, you're going to go to practice and you're going to... Because I would see those moms. So here's the thing. Speaking of gymnastics, do you remember when you started getting really good at gymnastics? So I'm sure if anybody's listening that has a child in anything, really, the better you get, the more you're going to go to practice, right? Yeah. So you started getting really good in gymnastics, so we got to go to practice more. And you started getting tired. You said, Mommy, I don't want to go to practice. I'm tired. And you were like, this is too much practice. And you said, I don't think I want to do gymnastics anymore. And I said,
was over it.
I said, are you sure? I said, you don't want to do it? And I said, are you really sure you don't want to do it? I said, well, do you want to do something else? Yeah. And you said, I think so. And I said, are you sure? Yeah. And you said, I don't like when I practice too much.
Wait, really quickly.
And that's when you decided you wanted to do baton. So we switched from gymnastics to baton. Shortly thereafter.
There was a gap. But do you remember me wanting to do ballet when I was after gymnastics. Do you remember that?
Not really.
No?
No.
Because I was thinking.
Did you ask me about it?
I thought I did.
I don't remember because I would have let you do that.
I always wondered because I was like, I wanted to do ballet after gymnastics. Ballet. But I was like, did I tell you that?
No,
I thought I did.
I don't remember that.
Because I feel like you would let me do it.
I feel like I would have let you do that.
I don't know what happened with that. I mean, baton ended up being like dance class. Because we had to, I remember we had to go to like Capizio and stuff and get like dance shoes and like we had to get fitted for our costumes. So like that was like a thing. But
no, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
you guys always let me do what I wanted to do, which I appreciated.
No shade to anybody who does it a different way. Again, we, no judgment here. We're sharing. But that was my parenting style.
Yeah.
I wanted my children to do what they wanted to do. I didn't shove it because I felt like this is extracurricular. Like, why am I going to make you do something you don't even want to do and I'm paying for it? Like, this just doesn't make sense.
True.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
This is that would be ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
So, and then look, you did baton and look how long you did it because you're doing it because you like it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
And again, along with you guys, letting me try things that I wanted to do. I'm glad that you guys let me quit when I wanted to quit too. Because even like with gymnastics, you were really good. With baton, with piano, I did piano for like a year.
Right.
And I just was over it. I didn't want to rehearse.
Yeah. Same thing. And you were getting good.
And I'm glad that you guys let me quit.
I'm like, she's not trying to be a concert pianist, so
no. I thought I wanted to be Alicia Keys for a minute, and then I was like, I actually don't want to do this anymore.
And it's okay,
So but yeah. So I'm glad that you guys let me try what I wanted to try.
I just wanted to let you explore and find out what your niche, find your niche.
Yeah. And then it's like, when I was over it, you guys let me be over it. And I appreciate that too. Yeah, because I feel like, kids, you have to let kids explore.
Right.
And I mean, not even just kids. It's like even now, like
try
whatever it's
things.
Try, figure out what you like, what you want to try. And it's like, if you don't like it or you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore, like let it go. So But yeah, I was a very busybody. I was always into some extracurricular. Oh my gosh, skiing. Wait, skiing is actually, that's another fun fact because I feel like, we love black people ski, but I feel like people don't know that. For sure. But like
her whole life.
We hit the slopes. Yeah. We hit the slopes. No.
At a very young age, you and your brother.
I learned how to ski when I was 4. I was like 4 or 5. We would go to Tahoe every year.
She learned how to ski before younger than I did. I was I think I was in 3rd grade. I was like in 3rd grade when I learned.
That's another thing that I love that we did. And I want us to start doing that again.
So I knew I was going to do that with my kids because I was glad I knew how to ski at a young age.
I want to, that's something I want to pass on too.
Took me, my mom and my, her husband.
That's something that I want to pass on. Yeah. Like to my kids too. Because that's such a cool skill to I know how to ski. It is. Like what?
It is so much fun.
Cool. It's
such a family oriented, fun thing to do.
That was a highlight because what we would do was, it was us and our extended family basically.
Yes. Every
year we would go to Tahoe
like clockwork,
and we would rent 2 big cabins, and it would just be like a big weekend because it was always MLK weekend, so it was like a long weekend. And everybody would be cooking. We had a whole bunch of food. We'd play games.
Oh my gosh!
All the adults would go to the casino, and then of course we would have our designated ski and snowboard days. So you would either take your lessons, or if you were older and already knew how to ski, then you would just hit the slopes. That was fun.
That was so much
and my
fun.
Best friend and her family started coming.
Those days.
We're bringing it back. I already told my boyfriend. I was like, look.
And now I'm like the aunties.
You're like the aunties
that are sitting in the lodge making sure everybody has their food.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, because I'm like, that is something that I really want to bring back, and I want our kids and the next generation to have that.
Yeah, we will do that.
Even if it's not in Tahoe, even if it's in a different location,
you can do it anywhere.
I want us to do that.
Yeah,
so
we will do that.
Keep those family traditions alive.
Keep them going. It's so the memories and what you give to your children.
Yeah.
is beautiful.
That was like core memories.
So I will
right
say
there.
shout out to my mom for doing that.
Yes.
Because I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
That,
and everybody that coordinated.
That's a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
To give, and then I gave it to mine.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to pass it on.
You
for
carry
sure.
it on. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So I know we kind of went on a tangent with that. You're like, what does that have to do with education?
Because I know.
But, you know.
Sorry. Side note. We said we go sideways sometimes.
We get sidetracked.
We're coming back.
So getting back to education and our experiences, I wanted us to talk about growing up, our favorite classes and our favorite teachers, because I feel like I definitely have some favorites that stand out to me. Do you have any favorite classes?
I absolutely do.
What are they?
I had one.
Okay.
And it was definitely, without a doubt, speech and debate.
Doesn't that make all the sense in the world?
Because I like to talk.
And she will debate. That makes sense.
I had speech and debate.
What class or what year was this for you?
This was in 9th grade. I took speech and debate in 9th grade.
Okay.
And actually I took it for you could take it for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
I took it for 9th grade, and I had it. Well, let me start with 9th grade first, and I'll go into that.
Okay.
So I took it speech and debate in 9th grade, and Mr. Moore was his name.
Shout out
to him. I don't even know. He was a little older then. I don't know if he's still around, but if you're out there, hey, shout out to you. You really changed my life. Aww. Because I used to be. I don't say I was shy, but I didn't like to, I would never be able to do something like this.
Like public speaking.
Yeah, public speaking was not, I couldn't even stand up in front of the class and do, speak and do anything, like a report or anything oral. Yeah. Was horrifying to me. Because I had severe anxiety about it. So that was all gone when I took this class. He was so amazing. And yeah, he just he changed my life. He helped all of us so much. I'll speak for myself. He helped me a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I love that class. And we had so much, that wasn't even a class. I feel like that was just fun. Yeah. But you're learning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And you're getting skills.
Yes.
That's
and then we learned to debate. Yeah. Really debate.
Yeah.
And then we would have competitions. We would go out. We would get on a bus and go to
travel.
And have debates. Yeah.
So I like that story.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that class. Yep.
Shout out to Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore, whoop whoop.
So I had a few favorite classes. Oh gosh, I'm there's so many that are kind of passing through my head. But to focus on my favorite teachers though, I have to shout out Miss Brasco, my kindergarten teacher.
Aww.
She was my kindergarten teacher.
Aww.
And I remember after kindergarten was over, she left the school because she was moving across the country, and we were crying at kindergarten graduation because that was she was just so sweet.
She was.
And she just really, it was kindergarten. So it's I don't even really remember it that well, but I just remember she just had such a big impact on me, and I will never forget her. So, Miss Brasco, if you ever see this one day, you're really one of my favorites.
Aww.
And then my other that I have to shout out, same school, Mrs. Sparacino.
I knew it.
You knew. You knew.
She was definitely one of mine.
Mrs. Sparacino.
For sure. I love her.
Changed my life. Seriously.
She really was awesome.
She literally changed my life.
And here's why.
Mrs. Sparacino was my 6th grade teacher. And just for one, she was just a great teacher.
She was.
Just overall, just her spirit, the way she taught. She was just a great teacher. I just can't even really describe. Just overall great person. I loved her.
She was one of those teachers that should have been a teacher.
Sure. Yeah, that was her calling. She was an amazing teacher.
For sure.
Yeah. So she was my 6th grade teacher. And I remember, I can't remember the exact order of everything, but long story short, she nominated me to go to a leadership conference in Washington, D.C., when I was 12. And I was shook because, for one, I didn't even know this conference existed. I didn't even know that
I never heard of
I didn't
it.
even know she even saw that in me. Because at that time, especially like in middle school, I didn't see myself as a leader. I just didn't see that in me.
Of course I did as her mother. But
I just didn't.
She didn't see it yet.
And I was a very like reserved kid. Like I said, you know, I knew I was always good in school. Like I was confident academically, but that was kind of it. Like I didn't see myself being this like strong leader, like, you know, being able to talk in front of people and like I didn't see that.
She's a teacher. She saw it.
But she saw that in me, and when she nominated me for that conference, we got a letter. That was how we found out. We got like this big what?
No, she called me.
She called you about the conference?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
No, so she called.
I thought we got the letter first.
No.
Oh.
So she called. So this was what happened. Well, she called me on the phone, and I was like, it was like at dinner time. I'm making dinner, and you know, your brother was little, and you know, I don't know what he was doing or whatever, but your brother was running around or whatever, and she called me on the phone, and I'm like, why is Miss Sparacino calling me? And, you know, you never get in trouble. So I'm like, it couldn't be anything. Jayla didn't do anything wrong. And so she's like, hi, Mrs. White. This is, you know, Mrs. Sparacino. How are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. But I'm, you know, why are you calling me at this hour?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay. And she's like, oh, you know, I just want to tell you, you know, first of all, Jayla is so amazing and blah, blah, you know, she's telling me all these things. And, you know, she said, but the reason I'm calling is because I wanted to tell you about this program that, you know, and she started telling me about it, right? And she said, I wanted to nominate her. And she said, you know, I'm going to send all there's going to be, something's going to be coming to you. And I just wanted to, you know, reach out before it comes and let you know that I have nominated her. That's what happened. That's how we found out. Because, you know, she wanted your parents to know first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that part.
Yeah,
because
so that's initially
I just remember getting this big, thick envelope in the mail. And I was like, what is this? And we were reading through, and it was basically saying, like, you've been nominated by your teacher to attend this leadership conference.
Yep.
This is what it is. And, if you let me know if you've heard of this or if you've been a part of it. It was called Junior NYLC.
Yeah.
And it was, I think I was there for like a week or something. And I went. I ended up going. It was this, you know, like I want to say it was like a week or 10 days or something conference. It was in Washington, D.C. And that was the first time. That was also the first time that I like kind of traveled alone. Like my dad ended up taking me. Like he dropped me off basically at the conference. But while you're there, it's just you, all these kids from around the country, and the chaperones that are doing the conference. But it's like that was the first time I was ever like by myself, meeting new people. It was just such a unique experience. And that was the first time that I really did like hone my leadership skills and actually see like, oh, I am a leader. Like I can see those qualities in myself now.
And you got to be around other kids that from different places. Because these kids came from all over the United States.
Like I met people from literally everywhere. And so that was unique too. And I mean, it sucks now because I'm like, if anyone attended Junior NYLC in like 2000 and I don't know, like 5 or something. If you ever see reach out. Because I remember like after I kept in touch with some people on like MySpace and stuff. And then of course after that died out, I don't have contact with like any of them anymore. So I wonder like where everybody ended up.
Yeah,
and, like,
how they're
what
doing.
people are doing.
Yeah.
And then also that led into me getting invited to President Obama's first inauguration. That was when I was 15.
Right.
So once I was like in the system with the conference, I got the invitation for that, and I went to that as well. And that was another life-changing experience.
That's
like
crazy.
I do still have a friend that I still talk to like from time to time from that too. But that was a life-changing experience too. Like just that whole time.
See, so people can really change your life and then even realize how what
didn't
an
even
impact
like
they made.
So Mrs. Sparacino, again, if you ever see this, shout out to you because you really did change my life, like, for the better.
That's awesome.
So, Yeah, so I also just want to shout out teachers, educators, professors in general, because it can be such a thankless job, I feel like.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to shout out like our favorite teachers, because y'all do not get paid enough. You do not get the accolades and the praise and the appreciation that you deserve. I have friends that are teachers as well, and so I hear the stories and the things that they deal with, not even just like from a teaching and like curriculum standpoint, but also just from like an emotional standpoint, because y'all are more than the teachers. You have to be the kids' therapist and the nurse and the like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you deal with the parents. You there's so much that you deal with as educators, and I hope one day that is acknowledged more and that is compensated more, because you guys deserve
so much more.
Yeah, I've always said, I don't care what anyone says. I think teachers should be compensated like lawyers and doctors are.
For sure. I mean, come on.
We're dropping
off.
Like,
we're dropping off our children
for 8 hours a day.
In the hands of these teachers.
For 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Like that.
So here's an example. How much do you pay for daycare?
Yeah.
A lot, right?
Yeah.
Daycare costs $1 gazillion. How much does a teacher get paid?
Yeah.
But yet you pay daycare, off the chain, right? Why doesn't a teacher get paid a lot of money? She has your child and she's educating this child.
With that, the daycare gets a bunch of money, but I'm like, do you think those daycare providers, they don't get paid nothing either?
Exactly.
And that's a problem. So
that's my whole point.
Yeah.
Anything that's anyone that is teaching your child all day should definitely be compensated accordingly. That's all I'm saying.
1,000,000%.
We're just going to leave it at that.
Right, because we'll get into
I'll go on a whole tangent about that. So,
but so teachers, educators, we love you, and
we do.
You deserve
you guys definitely get my praise, because you do what you do, and as you see, like she said, life-changing things. And I have a son, and I say the same thing for, there's 2 teachers that he had at a certain time in his life that he still talks about, and he's like, I want to find them, like, you just don't know, Mom, they, like, he gets teary talking about it. So, like, they just don't know.
Teachers,
like, hey,
be changing and saving lives all the time. So, so shout out to all of the educators out there. We love you and appreciate you. Mm-hmm. So, getting into future, because we always kind of like to end it with like future talk as well. When I have my little pumpkins one day,
pumpkins, I can't wait.
It's something that I haven't thought about like the details of it yet, and like we haven't fully discussed like what we want to do. But I think when I think about like education for my kids, I feel like I would want an education kind of similar to mine. Like, I do like the private education system, I guess. Things, even now, like looking at education now, I say I guess because I'm like, I really don't even know what it looks like right now, because even when I was in school, that was some years ago, so I don't even know what it's giving now. But I feel like I would just, let me just say, I would want my kids to have a similar experience to like what I had. Like, I feel like I had a really pretty optimal school experience from kindergarten all the way until college, honestly. So I feel like I would want my kids to experience something like that. But I'm also not opposed to public school. Like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't.
I am.
I think it depends on the district, though, too. But I get what you're saying. Mm-mm. I don't know. It depends. We just have to.
Can I say why?
Why?
So, and again, no shade to anybody that's, okay, here's why. Because you have there's guidelines and they're stricter. Like, when you go to a public school, like, you can get thrown out for certain behaviors and certain things. Like, you can't even say certain things and do certain things if you're at a private school. Like, there's a zero tolerance for things.
That's true.
And that's why I choose and these days with these kids, Okay, and even these parents, some of these parents.
True, it's a little scary.
I just feel like, again, my opinion, I just feel like if you want to raise your child with certain structure, right? If you want structure, then private school's probably the way. But if you want more of an abstract type of style, public school might be okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So
we shall see, because I mean, my kids won't be in school for a while at this point. I mean, we're not even in the phase of even starting that. So this is going to be down the road. But I mean, it's just something that it's like, it's come up in conversation. I think about it a little bit.
Yeah. But that's good you're thinking, you're thinking about preparing, you'll be prepared.
And also just because it's like I'm thinking about like where we're gonna end up like living too.
Right.
Obviously, your environment in the city and the district and all that plays a role in like the education as well. So we'll see. But yeah, I feel like overall I would want them to have like similar experiences to me, if possible. So I think that about wraps it up. We talked about a lot of different stuff too, like extracurriculars and all that. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 7. We appreciate it. Please remember to subscribe, like this video if you like this video. Please. We post every single Sunday, so be sure that you turn on your notifications and you are tuning into every episode. And until next time, we have our drinks.
Yes, we do.
Cheers.
Cheers.